All right, so we're going to be looking at this PragerU video in which they are very angry that people are kneeling during the national anthem. Now, of course, the Colin Kaepernick taking a knee and other NFL players as well caused an unbelievably ginormous debate in the United States of America. In fact, I've never seen an issue so polarizing, and it is to the point where I have come to the conclusion that if you would like to trigger a conservative, either shit on the flag or the national anthem, because it seems that they keister flags. But anyways, so this video is basically breaking down why everyone should stand for the national anthem, which is an insane statement on the face of it. But normally they bring on like supposed experts, and this one, they just brought on like a singer. Like they didn't even have like a historian who's like, oh man, look at the importance. This time they just straight up brought on a singer. So, anyways, check it out and we'll come back and talk about it.
The national anthem stands for freedom, even the freedom to do foolish things, like protesting the national anthem. But like my mama always said, just because you are free to do the wrong thing, it doesn't mean you should. Starting in 2016, some professional football players have refused to stand when the national anthem is played before a game. Some of them kneel, some of them sit on the bench, some of them raise their fist, and some don't even come out of the locker room. This was all started by San Francisco 49er quarterback Colin Kaepernick. His idea was to protest the alleged mistreatment of Black people by police, and by America in general. As he put it, I am not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses Black people and people of color. Kaepernick no longer plays in the league because apparently NFL owners are racist against backup quarterbacks who don't throw well. But his protest lives on and has spread to college and high school athletes. Even elementary school kids have gotten into the act. I like football, and I sing the anthem publicly at events. This doesn't make me an expert, but I've got a problem with some things here. First, the protest is based on something that just isn't true. And second, even if it were true, the protest is misdirected and self-defeating. Let's start with problem one. Despite what we're told by Black Lives Matter and their media allies, the police are not engaged in a coordinated campaign to destroy the Black race. As Harvard professor Roland Fryer, who happens to be Black, and others have shown, there is no evidence of racial bias in police shootings. In any case, the thing that makes headlines, police shootings of unarmed Black men, is very rare. How rare? Statistics show that an unarmed Black man is more likely to be killed by lightning than a policeman. So if police are trying to persecute Black folks, they're doing a really bad job. Am I saying racism doesn't exist? Of course not. Am I saying racist cops don't exist? Of course not. But I would say this: Blacks have a lot more to fear from Black criminals than from the police. The police keep us safe, and they risk their lives every day doing it. That sounds like it's a lot more deserving of a thank you than a screw you. Now, problem two. The protest is misdirected and self-defeating. The American flag and the national anthem are symbols that represent our country. Even if some police officers are racist jerks, it doesn't make sense to protest those particular jerks by demonstrating against the country as a whole. Martin Luther King Jr. protested discrimination against Blacks on city buses by boycotting city buses. He never denigrated the flag or the anthem. In fact, he did the opposite. He argued that the people who oppress Blacks are the ones denigrating the flag and what it stands for. And what does it stand for? Ironically, it's the protesters themselves who give us the answer. It stands for freedom. The fact that you can disrespect the anthem and the flag proves that you're free. Anyone who doesn't stand for the anthem would do themselves a favor if they studied some current events. They'd learn that oppressive countries don't allow anyone to publicly disrespect national symbols, much less earn millions of dollars while doing it. You won't see anyone sitting for their national anthem in North Korea or Iran. Well, you might, but that will be the last time you see them. Which brings me to my final point. In America, where you are free to sit or stand during the national anthem, sitting when you should be standing is more a statement about you than about America. And you don't come off too well. You come off, frankly, as ignorant and ungrateful. Ignorant about a country that works to correct its faults, and ungrateful for the opportunity and freedom that it offers all its citizens. For that, I'm standing. How about you? I'm Joy Villa for Prager University.
All right, so there's a lot to get into there. So first of all, the idea, and I've already talked about this a few times, but the idea that Colin Kaepernick was not, and today is not, merit-based wise, should be at least a second or a third string is laughable, because the quarterback play in the NFL, especially last year, but even this year, there are some teams, like we just saw Sam Bradford go down to third string. The quarterback play is definitely at an all-time low, especially last year. Last year was complete and utter trash, but the idea that Kaepernick can't be a starter for a team or a second stringer is laughable, and you'd have to not know anything about the NFL to make that statement or be a partisan asshole, of course. And then she talks about what's being protested. She's misrepresenting what they're protesting. What they're protesting is there are multiple cases of unarmed black people being killed by the police, Eric Garner and a bunch of other cases, obviously. The Eric Garner one is easily the worst case that I've ever seen. And the fact that nobody consistently is getting held accountable for their actions is the reason why they're protesting. And one of the platforms that Kaepernick was actually protesting on was poor treatment of veterans. So the irony of calling him like anti-military, which is hilarious, because he actually got the advice to take a knee instead of sitting from, I believe it was a guy from the Special Forces, if I'm not mistaken. Someone can correct me on that. So it's hilarious that she's making this bullshit argument, but basically she ends up completely just destroying her own argument, because it's like this weird thing of like everyone should stand for the national anthem because it represents freedom or some weird shit like that. It's some really weird stuff that they get into, but this argument has already been hashed out massively. And the thing is that the whole point of the Constitution is to give you the right to protest. And so to shut down the protest, which is a peaceful protest, is laughably hilarious. Now, there are people who disagree with him protesting, who say that you are denigrating the United States. You are, the main point from people who are opposite the side of Kaepernick is they are anti-veteran, which again is laughably stupid, because not only was one of the platforms that he was protesting on police poor treatment of veterans, but on top of that, the reason he started taking a knee instead of sitting was because he actually got that advice from someone in the military. So he was doing that, and also there have been countless amounts of veterans who have came out saying, I support Colin Kaepernick. He's not denigrating the military by taking a knee during the national anthem. And dissent is definitely the highest form of patriotism. The thing about a democracy is supposed to be on constant barrage of criticism, because it's supposed to be held to a higher standard than other forms of government like dictatorships. And so essentially there's an onus upon a democracy to be under fire from a barrage of criticism, because it is supposed to be higher than the other governments. So they have to continue to be criticized consistently. And also, I want to state that the ending completely destroys her entire argument by saying that, you have the freedom to stand for the flag. People in other nations don't have the freedom to stand for the flag, or to sit for the flag, for the anthem, for their national things. So you should stand, because the people in the countries that we despise, North Korea and Iran, the fucking countries that we literally want to invade and preemptively strike or just hate outright, let's be like them and have everyone instead. But I'm not going to say that they want to mandate it by law, because I believe that would be a straw man. However, by stating that everybody should, the only difference would be is that there's this like almost fake right to kneel in protest, because if you're given the right but nobody actually uses it because it's culturally enforced to stand for the flag, what the fuck is the point of that right in the first place? So you are, and I've explained this multiple times, I hate the national anthem. I despise it. The national anthem is a shitty song. It fucking sucks. There's no reason for it to be played at sporting events. It makes zero sense whatsoever. There's no need for that. Anytime I'm watching a sports game and the national anthem comes on, I mute that shit because the song is putrid. It's horrible. And I don't even know why Americans like that, because it was written by a socialist. So you should be despising it. But anyways, I want to say that whenever I think of like everybody standing up and putting their hand on their heart and reciting the same thing that everybody else in the room is reciting, that is scary as fuck to me, because that reminds me of the Soviet Union. That reminds me of all dictatorships. That does not remind me of a democracy. That reminds me of we're all part of this, unison thinking and, this identity, which is that's supposed to be the complete opposite of America. That's supposed to be diametrically opposed to the entire idea of America. So it's purely insane that anybody thinks this way, man. It's embarrassing, honestly. It really is.